Hey guys, Janine here with another Elm Street review for you. As you know, our It's a Wonderful podcast patrons voted for me to check out a horror franchise this spooky season, and Elm Street won all the votes. I do have gaps, I think, in every kind of major horror franchise aside from Scream probably, and Friday the 13th. I actually did delve into all of those movies last year, which was really fun. But yeah, some of the big ones I just have gaps in, and this was the one that won the vote. So I'm checking out all the Elm Street films and doing these kind of little reviews for you guys. So yeah, I'm talking today about A Nightmare on Elm Street for Dream Master. So it's definitely a continuing story from the last film. We still have our Kristen character, but not played by Patricia Arquette. I believe she was pregnant, so she couldn't come back. And she's now played by Tuesday Knight. I will say a bit disappointing. The characterization, or I guess how she played her, was not expecting her to do exactly the same thing because obviously they're different actresses, but the energy was just very different. I liked kind of the bold, strong, kind of confident character that Patricia Arquette was portraying, but Tuesday Knight is very kind of, you know, a little bit mousy, a little bit reserved, and just doesn't seem like she has that confidence and strength that Patricia Arquette gave to the character. So that was a little bit disappointing. I did like having Kincaid and Joey also kind of be there, so she's kind of with other people who are connected to the last film, and Kincaid is kind of a fan favorite character. Joey, the character who couldn't talk, now being able to talk now, and they're kind of moved on and in school together. Kristen has some new friends, so we kind of do have her very generic friend group that we meet as well. No really interesting characters there. Like, her boyfriend's kind of silly, his sister Alice, which I think it was like a very kind of unexpected passing of the torch, because you really thought maybe you were going to follow Kristen for a minute, and you know, these OG characters from the last film, only for them to very disappointingly get ceremoniously killed off, all three of them. So that was kind of a bummer that, you know, you have kind of these characters who were great in the last film, and then you bring them into this one only to just kind of take them out, and then we're stuck with these new people. I didn't really like that. I think Alice's character wasn't doing even enough for us to kind of be like, oh, okay, I'm done following Kristen. I'm ready to follow this new person, because Kristen is not the same Kristen, so we already felt like we were following a new person, and now we're just kind of getting this second new person. So, you know, that kind of passing the torch didn't feel very, like, it didn't feel like it had a lot of kind of pomp and circumstance at all. So it was just kind of like, okay. But yeah, there was no really kind of interesting things about these new characters. They all kind of just had a couple of generic traits, and so that's kind of their kind of caricature of who they are, which they all kind of just felt like caricatures. So that's a bummer, because, you know, they did establish each character in 3 really well. I thought this group of kids, and they each kind of had their distinct thing, but they showed a lot of personality that kind of expressed kind of, you know, what that thing about them that was established. So then you pair that up with them kind of showing those aspects in their personality, and you really kind of get to like these characters. But in this one, they kind of have their very generic traits, and then that's kind of all you get. So that's really kind of a bummer. Not really a fan of these new characters. Really kind of bummed that the characters that we knew are just very quickly killed off, particularly Kristen. Because yeah, she was like our big final girl, and then to kind of just kill her off and leave us with these new characters just felt kind of, ugh. You know, I wasn't a huge fan of that. But I will say the kills and effects were really cool. We have our girl who's kind of like a bodybuilder, or like somebody who's really into fitness. Her kill was really cool, kind of turning her into a cockroach. like the way her elbows split and seeing kind of her body just kind of come off and turn into these nasty like cockroach arms, and it was just really gross and really well done. Kincaid and the whole thing with his dog, and that bringing Freddy back, the dog pissing fire on the bones, and that's what brought him back. All of that just felt very weird, and they could have brought him back in such a way more smart way than that. That just felt very silly. And then to have Kincaid, such a cool character from the last film, just get kind of stabbed and killed, and not even killed in like a cool way, felt really just kind of annoying. Didn't really like that. I wanted to see him at least go out with a fight, go out doing something cool, go out, you know, calling Freddy Krueger a pussy again. But we didn't really get any of that, so he just kind of got stabbed, and that was the end of him. Joey, though, he got a really cool death. I thought it was kind of like a fun twist on the Johnny Depp kill, in that he's on a waterbed, and he, you know, sees this hot girl in his poster kind of come alive, and she's in the waterbed, and he tries to get to her only for it to be Freddy. He gets his very quippy one-liner, you know, how's this for a wet dream, and pulls him into the bed, only for his mom to kind of find him in the waterbed the next day. So that is like, I think, a cool twist on a familiar kill, which I thought was a really fun one. But yeah, then Alice, she kind of is talking to Kristen, and they kind of try to pepper in this whole thing that she kind of is very intuitive to dreams, and we catch her daydreaming every once in a while, and she's very sensitive to dreams and understands different aspects of them. So they try to kind of set that up with her character. Kristen actually can pull people into her dreams. I liked that, you know. Kincaid and Joy were like, leave us alone, we're trying to move on with our life, stop pulling us into your dreams, stop stressing about Freddy coming back. And I think, you know, I like that they were like, leave us alone, leave us out of this, we just kind of want to move on with our lives. And I think her kind of really feeling like his spirit was still looming, was kind of, I think they could have worked within that bubble to make Freddy come back, as opposed to like the whole fire dog pace kind of situation. That just felt very silly. So yeah, I wish they would have brought him back in a different way. But I did like that the two guys were very much like, stop using your powers, we're done with this. So yeah, they try to like loosely set up Alice kind of throughout the film, that, you know, she is somebody who's very sensitive and tuned to dreams. So now, you know, where Kristen had the power to kind of bring people into her dreams, once these people die, somehow Alice is able to kind of absorb their abilities. I don't know if I can't remember. I don't know if I understood if it's because like she gets like a token from them, something that belonged to them, and she's able to kind of use that to take on those powers. So where in the dream world you could dream to do whatever you want, once somebody dies in the dream world, Alice is able to kind of take on their abilities. So when her brother dies, she's able to kind of do all the karate stuff that he was able to do. When the fitness girl dies, I guess she's able to kind of like, you know, work out and do kind of more physical things with those abilities. So yeah, I think, you know, I guess that's kind of an interesting idea, but it's also very silly, and it wasn't set up very well, I don't think. And Alice was not even kind of, she seemed like a very kind of boring, bland character. So to kind of have her have this big moment where she kind of straps on everybody's kind of little token, and, you know, kind of tries to have this badass moment in the mirror, it felt very, very weird. It didn't have the hit that I wanted it to have, or the like, yeah, kind of feeling that it was going for. It just felt kind of corny, and even just these abilities just didn't feel like they were set up really well, that I was like into it. I will say I really loved this scene with Kristen and her mom, and you know, she feels like, you know, her friends are getting picked off one by one, and she feels like, okay, she's the last one, she's the last Elm Street kid, she has to survive, and her mom ends up putting sleeping pills in her drink. And so when she's kind of in her room, the overhead shot of them filming her kind of disoriented, moving around the room, stumbling around, trying to fight, passing out or falling asleep. The way they filmed that from above and kind of twisting the camera, and it's an overhead shot while it's still kind of twisting and twirling, definitely conveyed that the confusion of that, the overwhelming of trying to stay awake, the drowsiness of that, what that feeling would be like. So I thought that was a really cool way to depict, you know, what was happening to her with the camera movements and stuff like that. So I thought that was a really kind of cool scene. But yeah, now we're kind of supposed to follow these other characters and you just don't really care about them. And so I don't know how much Alice kind of goes into the next film. I haven't watched it yet. But yeah, she just seemed very bland to be the one that's kind of, you know, getting these abilities, and then kind of her whole karate scene with Freddy where she's kind of kicking him and punching him and kicking him and punching him, and he's not doing anything. He's just kind of laughing at her. It all feels just very silly. She kind of brings up these dream poems and different things, but they're just like these dream rhymes, but then they don't even rhyme. So that just felt very dumb too. And then at the last minute, she comes up with this like look upon yourself kind of evil poem thing, and she shows Freddy his own reflection, and then he kind of gets, you know, that's kind of what dispatches him. But I will say that the effects of that looked crazy. He again is kind of playing on his whole thing with the souls and how they're kind of in part of him. And he I like that they at least threw the line in there, like, you may get their abilities, but I get their souls. Because then, because, you know, you could probably consider, well, you know, he's getting their souls, why would he get their abilities too? So I like that at least they threw a line in there that, okay, they're aware of that. So yes, when she kind of does dispatch Freddy, that whole effect of him, you know, the arms of the souls kind of coming out of him and pulling him and trapping him on the wall, coming out of his head and his arms and, you know, his legs. And then all kind of the stomach stretching and the people inside of him, and you can see them stretching through. I thought all that looked really cool, and it just makes me miss practical effects, because look what you can do. It looks totally far-fetched and crazy, but it looks really cool. So I liked kind of all the practical effects that were happening. We did get some fun kills, but the kills were a little lackluster. The kind of karate guy, Alice's brother and Kristen's boyfriend, his kill was very lame, just kind of the finger gloves, just kind of shooting at his chest and stabbing him felt really silly. And then even kind of this daydream that Alice has of him popping out of the coffin and saying, "Hey, baby." Like, I feel like that's something I would maybe aware of through like a meme or a GIF. Or seeing that clip before, but never really knew the context of it. And once we kind of see that it's just this really dumb daydream that Alice is having to kind of establish her as this some person who's in tune to dreams and sensitive to the idea of dreams, it just felt very, very silly and pointless having you know, him pop out of the coffin like that. So again, yeah, I just don't really care about these characters. The kills weren't as cool. We had quite a few. I will say Joey's and the cockroach girl, hers were really cool. I mean, also, and then we have this black girl character in here who's just kind of a brain, and that's kind of all her character really gets. The fact that her death is kind of cool. And she now, I think, has absorbed Kristen's powers to suck people into her dreams. So when she falls asleep, she brings people into her dreams like Kristen was able to do, and she ends up getting people killed. So yeah, I mean, we're kind of just leaving some really cool characters for some really bland characters, and these are the kind of people that we're supposed to want to follow going forward. I don't know. I liked, you know, it was an interesting idea to kind of pepper in there. Okay, she has the ability to absorb people's abilities, and she can use all of that without needing a team, that these people are kind of still with her and she can use them to fight Freddy. I liked kind of the idea of that, but the execution was just not very fun. Not very like, yeah, and exciting. It was very kind of, okay, I guess this is how you're doing this. So wasn't the hugest fan of this film. Really, I preferred Dream Warriors. I know a lot of people kind of give that one a lot of accolades from what I can tell. But yeah, the Dream Master, they had some interesting ideas that they were working with, but kind of killing off some characters that we really liked, and then kind of leaving us with characters that are very not interesting was kind of the biggest downfall of this film for me, and I just wasn't that into it. So we're gonna get into The Dream Child next, I believe. So yeah, you know, that'll be the next movie I'm talking about. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this review. Of course, we have some other fun things on this YouTube channel, so please like, share, subscribe to all the things. We have Monday Madness, our Monday show on here. Morgan and I talk, you know, very topical things. We talk some fun topics and then play some games. So it's our very chill kickback show right here on this YouTube channel. So please check that out, and check out the It's a Wonderful podcast feed. We have all of our shows over there. Monday Madness is also in audio form over there every Monday. Morgan Hasn't Seen every Wednesday, where I force Morgan to watch things he hasn't seen. And Friday, our classic films podcast, It's a Wonderful Podcast. So please check out the It's a Wonderful Podcast feed, all places podcasts can be found. Again, like, share, subscribe right here in the It's a Wonderful Podcast YouTube channel. As I said, our amazing patrons did vote for me to review and talk about this series. So if you want to become a patron, just go to It's a Wonderful Podcast on patreon.com. Find the show on Twitter at It's a Wonderful One. Of course, you can find me in the description below, Janine Devine _ on Twitter, Janine Devine on Instagram and TikTok. I don't usually get this promote-y in these reviews, but you know, you gotta pepper them in where you can. So yeah, guys, please just like, share, subscribe, do all the things. Thank you so much for checking out this retro review of A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, and I will be back in the next one. Thank you, guys. Bye.